Okay, family, this is part 3. And this one is very interesting because, I mean, no shade. You know, if you believe in Muhammad and you're Islam and you consider yourself a Muslim, I have no shade for you. And that's what your belief is. I want you to follow your own belief. I'm just giving you really a history lesson because I don't know about the Quran. I don't know about Muhammad. It's not a subject that has really been interesting enough for me to really follow up on. Because, my focus has just been on Yahuwah, staying on my assignment, and making sure that I stay focused on what my purpose is called to do. But, the thing is that I have to be open-minded. And, Yahuwah says when people are asking questions, they want to know some answers. That's the problem with these pastors. Nobody tells them anything. And so they go blindly, walking into just anything. And they don't even know what they're getting into because they don't even follow it with history. So, believe it or not, I wanted to be a history teacher. A Black history teacher, and I'm actually in the works of being a professor at a university teaching Black history and teaching Hebrew history. So pray for me on that. But let's get back to part 3. Now, someone told me that Muhammad's dad was to sacrifice Muhammad to a god of Kaaba and some other guy named Hubal, and they're all mixed up with the god of Baal. So I'm like, okay, let me find out who this is because I don't even know about the history of Hubal and the pre-Islamic god tied to Kaaba and how Muhammad replaced pagan practices with what he called monotheism, but truth rebranded many pagan rituals. I'm telling you, we are in a world of rituals. And if we don't know what we're dealing with, we don't know how to be skillful in our prayer. So let's talk about it. The idol of Hubal. Origins and significance. Hubal was the chief idol worshipped by the Quraysh at the Kaaba in Mecca, considered a god of divination, rain, and war. The deity originated in North Arabia, possibly Nabatea or Mesopotamia, and was brought to Mecca by Amr ibn Luhay or Kazumaya ibn Majuka. Now, you guys don't crucify me on this. I don't speak these languages. I don't know these names very well. So please don't try to tell me this girl don't even know what she's talking about. She can't even say the names right. You know what? You're right. Because I only speak English and Spanish. And I can't speak these words very well. So just get the gist of it, all right? Tribal leaders who introduced pagan worship into the Hijaz. The statue made of red gate, shaped like a human figure with a broken right hand, replaced by gold. In front were 7 arrows used for divination, covering issues like marriage, death, lineage, and offerings often included sacrificial camels. The connection to Baal and Babylon. Scholars suggest a linguistic and cult link between the Hubal and the Semitic title Baal. You hear that? Semitic. Who calls themselves Semitic? Those people in Israel. And they call themselves Israelites. Well, anyway, not Israelites, Israelis. I'm sorry. As both share similar attributes, fertility, reign, authority, and possible origins in the Levantine religion. And that's what they call themselves in the Levantine religions. Oh my goodness. I'm going to have to talk about them next. Okay. Hubal appears alongside Mesopotamian gods and in the Nabatean inscriptions, ancient Jordan, Saudi Arabia region, indicating a cross-cultural spread of worship connected to the Baal cycle tradition. The sacrifice myth in Muhammad's father. Let's get to it. Islamic tradition recounts that Abd al-Muttalib Muhammad's grandfather was guided via the Hubal arrows divination to choose his son Abdullah for sacrifice per a vow. At the last moment, tribal elders intervened and a sheep was offered instead. This legend echoes other ancient narratives of child sacrifice to pagan deities. Wait a minute, doesn't this story kind of sound like Abraham and Isaac? And then how he was going to sacrifice because Yahuwah was testing Abraham. And then when Abraham was going to go ahead and sacrifice Isaac, a ram was in the bush. Okay, that sounds like that was made up. But anyway, the Kaaba and Hubal's ritual role. Pre-Islamic Mecca housed 360 idols inside and around the Kaaba. Ooh, I wouldn't want to be in that house. Likely representing the days of the year. Hubal was a primary idol of the Quraysh tribe, and the Kaaba was viewed as his sanctuary. Worship included divination, vows, pilgrimages, and animal sacrifices tied to pagan rituals, fertility celebration. These practices resemble Baal worship in function, if not in name. Now, Muhammad and the crushing of Hubal. When Muhammad conquered Mecca in 630 CE, he destroyed the statue of Hubal along with all other idols in the Kaaba, symbolically removing paganism from Mecca. The Kaaba was purified and rededicated to Allah, whom early Muslims claimed was the same high God once worshipped under pagan names, but with a rebranded theology. Is Hubal part of Baal worship? Yes, Hubal appears to be a local Arabian manifestation of Baal-like worship connected to broader fertility and sky deities of the Levant and Mesopotamia. Those Ashkenazi Jews are Levants. While Allah and Hubal were distinct, some scholars argue that Allah's name served to elevate Hubal's role, essentially rebranding pagan worship in monotheistic terms. Muhammad claimed divine revelation, but much of his reform was reworking of existing pagan rituals, cleansed of idols but retaining prayer, pilgrimage, sacrifice, and divination. These traditions were likely derived from practices centered around the Kaaba and Hubal. He did not restore Abrahamic monotheism, but rather created a new religion using pagan structures, rebranded under the name of Allah. So they have no ties to Yahuwah, okay? They ain't got no ties to Yahuwah and his covenant chosen people, period. So this makes me think, I hope Malcolm X wasn't part of this. You know, that makes me scratch my head about this a little bit. But, yeah, I'm hoping you're learning something on this because this is quite interesting. You know, witchcraft is real, and these different religions will get you caught up in something that you can't get out. So wonder people be having sleep paralysis. Let me say that right. People be having all kind of mental issues and brains and hearing voices and all that kind of stuff because you get caught up in all these different religions. You don't even know who you're dealing with. And then people that have all those statues. I mean, can you imagine having 360 idols in your house? No. That's the reason why people need to get back to serving Yahuwah. He's the only true God. And Yahushua is the only true master. He's HaMashiach. He is the only one. And I promise you, these other gods, they're going to be destroyed by Yahuwah. Period.